All right, real quick. So after I move that folder, you need to make sure that you are still working on documents that you're intending to work on. I've been noticing a huge issue that a lot of you guys are opening up the wrong folders, the wrong files, and you're editing them and you're saying, Mr. Walters, why is this not doing anything? Well, you need to double check that you are working on only stuff that's in that My Website project. So my index, because I have a lot of files that are named index.html, I need to open up the one that is in my website folder. My styles, I have to have the one that's opened that I'm working on is the one that is inside that folder if I'm trying to link to it here. Okay. Same thing for your Git Kraken and GitHub stuff. If it's not updating or showing the stuff when you're trying to push it to GitHub, chances are you have probably created multiple versions of that project folder and you have only one synced up with GitHub and you're working on another one. Okay, so you need to identify that issue. Okay, so for doing styles, there are ways that I can make it so it's really specific on what style, what selector I am looking for. I can do what's called a multiple selector, and all I have to do is just separate with a space and a comma. Okay, so if I spell it right. Nope, there it is. Separate. Okay. The other one is called a descendant selector. Descendant selector, and that is where you separate with a space. And all it means is that I'm saying I want any paragraph tag as my selector that is a descendant of a section. So if I'm looking at my code and I set this up, there's a section. Now I have article, paragraph. That would be a descendant of section. So this one should format. Here's another one, paragraph, descendant of article, which is a descendant of section. So that one would apply. Here's two paragraphs that would apply. Now I have an aside that has paragraphs, this quote, so that would not apply. And then, so if I have that stuff saved and I go in and I look, I have that paragraph that applied, those paragraphs that applied. This one, that quote, that was inside of the aside and not the section, so it did not apply. Now I can I could do one even better than that. If I want a direct descendant selector, okay, that is done by using the caret. Okay, so an example of this is I want all paragraphs that are direct descendants of this section, and I can fill this in so I can save this. And if I reload my page, a lot of stuff went back to the original format. So the original format that I had is that section and footer is all green, and I'm overriding those paragraphs that are direct descendants of section into blue. Now let's see what I got. I have these two. That's it. So then let's look in the code what that looks like. In the code, direct descendants of section were only these two. The other ones were not direct descendants because article was in between them. So a direct descendant, it's only the one that is directly a direct child of that element. Okay, so that can be useful if I'm trying to get it, trying to get something very specific. I can do another one where I am looking for something being preceded by another element. So let's say that I wanted, that's going to be a selector or a paragraph that is directly preceded by another paragraph has a rule, and that rule is that it needs to be green. Okay. So let's save them all, and then I refresh. Okay. So now I have that further remarks, and I have this part right here. So let's look at that in code. My further remarks, it was directly preceded by a paragraph, so then it gave the color. And then here, this was directly preceded by a paragraph, even though I've already formatted that differently. So I just have to be careful when I'm using CSS that I'm not overlapping some of my stuff and basically giving it two commands, because it's going to take the first one. But stuff trickles down, so that's what I want to be mindful of as well. So that was the preceded by, and I gave ID, and the other one is if we're using a class and you're just doing the dot and then the class name. So if I wanted to use this class right here, articles, I would do dot articles, and then I would apply it. Okay, so there you go. There's more code for you guys to use to start implementing CSS.